Okay. Good morning and welcome to Monos featuring me, Monica Mo Justice. This is so weird. I'm sorry I'm not up to snuff yet. Well, let's go. All right. So the last time I was here, I was trying to share my sentiments on something. Hold up. How come you can't see a studio anymore? Oh, I'm like so over this. I haven't been on YouTube for forever. And when you come back, the changes are so overwhelming. I know I'm live because I can see the live. Let me hear the live. Overwhelming. All right. So I can hear it, I can see it. The only thing is I can't see it where I want to see it at. Crazy. Let me start from scratch on another screen. This is so crazy. All right. I don't think I'm gonna be able to see the chat today because I can't find the other thing and I don't got time to look for it. So, just some things that I think folks should know. I realize that people do not agree with me. And I ain't even mad at y'all for not agreeing with me. But I'm going to stand on what I stand on. One, for a few reasons. One, um, I have some foundation in law. Two, by profession. This is so I could see it here. Oh, I'm just like so annoyed by this process. You know what I might do? I might come back and do it a different way because I don't like what I'm seeing. This is so interesting. So interesting. All right. Let's see if I could just get over this hurdle. I don't think I can. I think I can. I know me. I can't. Hold on a second. So I'm here. I'm here. That is there. It's live. There we are. There we are. Okay, patience pays off. Good morning, Jamie. You're gonna be so I don't know what to say. All right, here we go with my regular scheduled program. Let me go to the Zoom. I am going to want to share something with you. Okay, first of all, Ashleigh strikes again. So many things happened yesterday that I can't wrap my brain around it as to how I could explain it in a cohesive with clarity. But what I will tell you, hey Miss Mandy, what I will tell you is just a few things, and I would appreciate if people could just, you know, take in this information with an open mind as to what I'm presenting. Okay. This RICO case that's in Georgia is um is a trauma to the rest of us, right? Because we don't want to believe that there is injustice out here to the magnitude that we're seeing it. With unprepared DAs and people making records of or putting on the record that this is double jeopardy all the way around because defendants were once charged and served and did their time, and now they're being re-indicted on new charges and et cetera, et cetera. I need you to take a moment, clear your brain of what you heard, and let's walk through the process. The reason there is a RICO statute is because people engage in criminal activity and they are arrested for the criminal activity that they engaged in, right? They are either convicted or they pled guilty, or in this case, we learned that they took an Alford plea, but nobody, or there were some instances where people were arrested on allegation, or, and charged with something, and then later the charges were dropped. The purpose of RICO is when you notice that you've got a pattern going on, you then come in and charge people with the RICO, which means that you're going to take what they previously did and were convicted of, and however that was adjudicated, and you're going to give them a new charge, which is this count one, that's the RICO, and say, hey, all the things that you did in the past, this thing that you was arrested for, this carrying this gun, this incident, this shootout, this etc., right? Whatever it was, this selling drugs, this drug possession, we're now going to say all those things that we found you guilty of, that you pled for in the past, right, is now part of a RICO. And we're going to charge you because it was in furtherance. Whatever we gave you back then, you continued to do whatever it was. You would continue to engage in the activity. And this is how we're now going to go after you and keep you, eradicate our streets of your behavior. That is the purpose of the RICO. Okay, so if we just look at it from the perspective of why it was created and why legislators put this in place. Now, the question is, has there become an abuse of the RICO statute and indicting people under RICO? Perhaps there has been. Where do you address that? You can't adequately address the misuse of RICO while a case is going on. You've got to hit the legislators, the people that write the laws, and make them define this better. You understand? If people are so outraged by how this is being implemented, then they need to hit the streets and get into those Congress, the Senate rooms and so on and so forth to make their voices heard and change what they deem to be an abuse right now. Okay, so yesterday, and listen, so that's my thing on RICO, and I'm gonna do it now because I just want to bring your attention to what the law says directly as it relates to RICO. So let me just go to my note, because people keep saying, "Oh, the RICO, they didn't make no money." This RICO is not about making money. This RICO has nothing to do about them making money. They're not following money, chasing money, or whatever. Here's what it says. They charge them under whatever it is. Good morning, good morning, and good morning. So good morning, Miss Mandy. And I hope that you're feeling better, Jamie and Jason. Okay. In this, it says it's so they're being charged under 16-14-4, right? And it's section 1614-4C. It shall be unlawful for any person to conspire or endeavor to violate any of the provisions of A or B. So there's an A or B above this, of the code section. A person violates this subsection when A, he or she, together with one or more persons, conspires to violate any of the provisions of subsection A or B. That's a redundant statement right there. That's one of the first things that if you would go into your legislators, you would clean this up. You would clean that up because it's not written clearly. He or she, together with one or more persons, conspires to violate any of the provisions of subsection A or B of this code section, and any one or more of such person commits any overt act to effect the object of the conspiracy. So remember when I just said your previous cases where you pled guilty or you were convicted by a jury of your peers, or you were convicted by a judge, or you took an Alford plea? They now become overt act in your in that indictment. So when you see Ashleigh Merchant send a letter out explaining how it's kind of double jeopardy, but never directly states that it's double jeopardy, that her client has been convicted and served his time and all that, she is correct. But that falls under overt act. They're not trying to recharge your client. What I found extremely important for people to understand, why does Love want Arnold? And to be honest, if Love would just step up her game and just call him to the stand for the sole purpose of what I believe she wants him for, she wants him to prove the hybrid part of Derico. Remember Woody on the stand said, you can't not have a gang that consists of all these different. You can't have it's unheard of. You can't have this. You can't have this. Look at what gang he claims in his plea arrange in his plea. Well, I'm not gonna call it plea deal. I'm gonna call it plea agreement. He specifically claims a gang. I was thinking all last night, what would be his purpose? He's going to talk about green colors and all this other stuff. She's had endless amount of witnesses come on and verify that Young Slime Life, people who participated in Young Slime Life normally got together and engaged in some activities, engaged in criminal activities. And we got that straight from Sledge's mouth. He was very clear. He named his three people, etc., etc. So that's me looking at Ashleigh Merchant's letter again and trying to figure it out. The problem with Love is that she wants the whole shebang in. She doesn't know how to go in and succinctly drill down on the information she needs. What makes Adams a great attorney? When he comes up there to cross-examine the witnesses, he's very direct. He doesn't go through every pinpoint thing that the prosecution put forward in their direct examination. He goes straight for the key points that he wants. What makes Doug so effective when he's up there? Yesterday, let me tell you something. Credibility is all there is. The officer gets up there and gives us his whole story about Arnold and how him and Yak were in the car. Okay, I'm gonna need you to help me understand how making an illegal turn, right? He said they made a turn without signaling, gives you probable cause to go through their whole car. And if you look at the pictures, right? How am I to believe that the weapons that they redeemed were in plain sight once they got to the car after they done chased the people? But all of that, when I was listening to it yesterday at work, this is what I heard the most. The guy said, this is what we do. This is what we would do. And I was saying, excuse me, stop this testimony. Why is he not telling us what he actually did? He told us what he would do in those circumstances. So that was very interesting. And I was like, he's got the right person questioning him, Brown, because this just sounds stupid. So, anywho, Brown goes on, and this guy then gets on cross-examination. And I was already looking at his credibility. And what did Doug say? Hey, when you was up here tasering people and over, the guy even made an excuse. He said, well, first of all, when police officers don't want to be on camera, it's because they got a bias. They don't want people to see them lie. That's it. Same way when you're on the internet and people are behind avatars and they don't want you to see their face, is because they either have something else going online and going on in life, and they don't want you to capture their face, and they don't want it all over the place because there are trolls and people will take them out. But more importantly, when they're law enforcement, it's not because he's a big ATF agent. Does he think the notoriety of YSL trial is going to have people recognize him when he's doing his day-to-day duties? No, it's because you spat on them once you arrested them. And yes, sir, you did that. You did that because you had to run to catch them for what was supposed to seemingly be a little police. Hey, you made a wrong turn. I pull you over, give you a ticket, search your car. Like, that's why you did that. Because you had to run. And the reason why you were failing to admit that they were injured is because you caused injury. You sat up there and said, well, I have no reason to believe that there was any injury. Not that, but why did Grady get called? Well, we normally, like, his excuses were, they had me screaming at my desk. I was punching my desk. I was like, yo, this dude is ridiculous. Anyway, why would you bring up your pure police brutality, excessive force? It just had me outraged. So, and in that essence, now I want to show y'all something that's slightly different than my rampage. This morning I wanted to find the real indictment because I have a variation of something. I'm about to bring this up on the screen to share with you guys. Let me move this over here. Oh. Hang on for 1 second. I'm gonna have to do this again. So that's gonna come back over there. Stop sharing. Let me move this over here. Let me do this over here. Where is it? I'm gonna share it again. Just give me a second. All right, this is the one I need to share. This is how I need to share it. Okay, let's hope. Okay. So, okay. So I went over here to get the real number because somebody told me that it ends with a 2 the other day. So I was trying to find the real one. And of course, I stumbled upon this. Tell me if you guys can see it. Maybe I need to blow it up a little. Do I blow up? Let me. Let's see if that works. I blew it up a little. Okay. So this was a motion that the prosecutors filed. Hopefully it's bigger now. Let me see how it turned out. All right, I'm gonna take it up still another notch. Okay, we'll deal with that. Okay. Oh, that was much better. All right, let me just go back. All right, so here we are. It's not important to me, but I want to show you something about the prosecutors in the past, right? Um, or not. I just want to show you response. This is a this is a this is a response to the prosecution's request or motion to remove Brian Steele from being the defense counsel. And they provide a background here, right? And I just want to focus on the background. On May 9th, 2022, Fulton County Grand Jury returned a true bill of indictment against Jeffrey Williams and 27 others, charging Mr. Williams with violation of conspiracy to violate the Georgia RICO Act, right? And this is very important. ET sequence. That's because they know what I just discovered when I was reading it. It doesn't make sense between the A, B's, and C's. Okay. So they don't specify here if it's going to be section C, B, or A. But it's section C based on some other things that I read further down the line. All right. And Georgia. So anyway, he violated the allegations. They were charged with violations of the conspiracy to violate the Georgia RICO Act and the Georgia Street Gang Terrorism and Prevention Act. I haven't even looked at that one. Oh, I have to make this smaller. But anyway, through the indictment, various offenses by others, it names Mr. Williams only in the RICO and criminal street gang counts 1 and 56 respectively. Upon his arrest, Mr. Williams retained Brian Steele to defend him in this case. Mr. Steele and Mr. Williams maintain a close and continuous attorney-client relationship, which has spanned approximately a decade, during which Mr. Steele has defended Mr. Williams. I should have, hold up, because I can't see when I move it up. In a variety of matters. Mr. Steele represented Mr. Williams at his initial appearance on this indictment on May 10th and promptly, why is it like, moved this court for an emergency bond hearing for his client. All right, so page 2. Oh, this thing must have given me a hard time. All right, y'all get the next of it, because I got to read it without the thing, but you could pull it up. I'm just going to continue reading it from where I'm at. Okay, so on May 17th, the state filed a motion to disqualify Mr. Steele from acting as counsel for Mr. Williams in this case. Sorry, I'm waiting for the thing to come up over here. So let me just go back. So on May 17th, the state filed a motion to disqualify Mr. Steele from acting as counsel for Mr. Williams in this case, claiming both that Mr. Steele is a necessary witness for the state and that his prior and current attorney-client relationships and co-defendants named in the indictment cause an unwaverable conflict, which disqualifies him from remaining as counsel for Mr. Williams. In brief, the state avers that Mr. Steele's prior representation of 2 co-defendants, Mr. Martinez Arnold and Mr. Quantavious Greer, and current representation of Mr. Damian Blowlock, albeit an appeal from a conviction on a different indictment. Okay. And we also know that he is working on Ryan's appeal. Do you see who the co-defendants were? Martinez, Arnold. We know who Greer is. That's so let's just look at the layers here of counsel. This is one of the messiest weaved cases I've ever seen. But I will say the way that this response is written is exactly how a response is supposed to be written, or exactly how anything is supposed to be filed. This is what it's supposed to look like, format and all. This is what it should look like. It's pleasant to the eyes. It's easy to read. It states whatever it is. My point being is that he previously represented Martinez. The reason why I was thinking about that also was last night. I was watching Infamous Sylvia, and she stated, "Can you give him his treaty?" And she stated that he's indigent. Arnold is indigent, meaning that he doesn't have the money to afford an Ashleigh merchant. Just food for thought. Because I was wondering, how did he get that representation? But that's not necessarily an issue, in that I don't believe Miss Merchant wants to spend an enormous amount of volunteer hours on a case like this. So Sylvia said that he was they were paid, whatever the rate is that they pay for like public defenders to her law firm. So it's not the enormous amount of money. But as you could clearly see, the conflict here is that, in my opinion, he was represented by Steele, and then Steele found him a good attorney to represent him in his in his absence. So that's interesting. Two more things that just came out of yesterday's and another fault for Love, in my opinion. Love is, instead of coming out here and telling us about the wolf and the tigers and the bears, oh my, what she should have came out here and, to Dear Woke Christians, is always stating, she should have came out here with a better story. No, she should have came out here with the real story. She should have came out here and said, hey, we got two street gangs here, one called this one name and one called that name, who were cutting up in the street. And one day they got into a beef, and this one did that, and it went whack. And as a result, we are going to walk you through what one group did that resulted in another group's response, which will not fall under self-defense, because the only person that we've heard testimony for so far that engaged in self-defense was Woody, when he was coming out of his house and he got into a car. And as he was trying to get into his car, he was shot at and he returned fire. If they would have come out here and just painted us this story. So yesterday, we hear about this Bennett chick, just threw it in at us, who rented the red car that drove down the road and shot up Stillwell's car. But I'm sitting here and I'm saying to myself, why is Stillwell's shooting important? if he was the victim. You know why? Because every moment now that we're going to hear moving forward is going to be what happened in retaliation for him being shot at. But what the prosecution is failing to tell the world is that when Nut, Ground Zero Nut, was terminated or had his untimely death, they these gang affiliated detectives, gang unit squad, by their acts in investigating, softly put targets on everybody's back. And then they came in afterwards because there was somebody who testified. I don't remember if it was yesterday or the day before, about police not being proactive, but just being reactive. If you set the trap for the people to fight, the gangs to go at it with each other, you set that environment to keep yourself gainfully employed. It's the same thing with prosecutors filling jail houses with inmates. You are facilitating the violence on the street by how you cover it. The same way they came into that hospital room with pictures for Stillwell to look at while he is back cracked and everything. Can you imagine the amount of pain he was in? And not to mention that once they have you on those strong narcotics for an injury like that, can you imagine what he's addicted to years later? They made those people targets. So if the city or Fulton County really wanted to go after somebody, they should go after the gang that they employed, the gang that they funded, the gang which was the police department, the gang that was supposed to be out there preventing this stuff. They actually encouraged it and lit the flames underneath everybody's foot. And then they ran out there watching to see who they could pick up in the midst of it. See, the same way, and I believe this, right? The same way there's this RICO against them, there's a RICO against somebody somewhere. We're just not hearing about it. The same way they tried to throw in Bennett's name yesterday. When we know we heard about Bennett like 6 months ago, when she came in here and told us that your investigators were trying to harass her. We're not going to talk shop today. Bennett, drug dealer. So please, I need them to stop peeing on our legs and telling us that it's raining over here. Those people went in the bed, and listen, the guy from Texas, appropriate question would have been like, why did you relocate to Texas? Did you hear his ambivalence when he was being questioned? He was like, no, I didn't ask that question. It must have been somebody else. I was focused on who the victim was. That was a powerful, unappreciated, what do they say? Underwhelmed statement. It went unheard. That just sang for me when he said that. He was looking at him as a victim. He didn't want to discuss what the guy did or may have done or whatever. He wanted to discuss what happened to you, so we can get the people that did this to you and that young lady whom you didn't know. See, when people are looking at this RICO stuff right now, and I hear you, Thug, you know, is innocent, presumed innocent. But when you're looking at this, try to think about the unsung victims. Peanut, right, is a casualty right now, right? But he's a casualty of his own environment. He created or was a part of that environment that took him out. Why you think he was laying there in the glaze of glory after he done popped off on people? And they got a zillion bullets all up. Oh, no, excuse me, casings. They got casings all on the ground. And they can't really tell you if it came out of a Plymouth, a Pontiac, or Infinity. The reason they can't tell you all of this is because it was a war in the streets. And the streets handled their stuff their way. You come in here now, you want to be the law, and you want to bring some order to it for the citizens, like Miss Jones, who was just in the car doing her girlfriend a favor. Poor, like, I just want to say, poor dude was sitting back there in the back seat. Just imagine the story from Miss Stillwell's perspective. I'm about to go bed. I'm not going to call it babysit, but he's about to spend some quality time with his newborn at his grandma's house. And he's being transported in his girlfriend's car. So his girlfriend has a friend in her car so he could do that. Imagine if they had gotten a baby. The car flipped over. Who's the real terrorist in this story? It sounds like this whatever this group was. And there's no they didn't swear out to us yet that the group that was involved in the Stillwell incident is actually connected to the Nut group, right? We don't even know if that's the same gang. But what we do know is that the car was rented by Miss Bennett. And what we do know from Miss Bennett's testimony is that Miss Bennett, once upon a crime, was a drug dealer. Or she allowed her boyfriend, children's father, at the time to sell drugs out of her location. According to her report, 3 males came into her house one day, friends of her boyfriend. And his name was Ola Player. So I have to go back now to look and see if yesterday's testimony had anything to do with Ola Player. But in any event, she was dating Ola Player, and they stole her drugs. She in turn told the police that they took her money. And I'm going to tell you, when I heard the story 6 months ago, this is what I heard. I heard we was working a package and somebody came in and stole the package, and whoever's package we was working, we were going to come up short for that money. So we went to the police and told the police they stole our money, when in reality is they probably just stole their package. Street stuff. So I don't know. That's just how I heard it. But my ears be hearing things way differently. Love should have told the story that the prosecutors when they're talking about the jungle and the whatever is only as strong. No, that whole pack, The pack is only as strong as the leader, and the leader is only as strong as the pack. No, them packs are running around there, running around haphazardly, just like her case. They need to do something, but this ain't the way. This ain't the way to do it. And I hope for those that came in later, you just listen to my opine on what is a RICO and why it's not double jeopardy. And let me tell you something. People that write out long stories and letters and stuff, those are ex parte communications with the judge, because the purpose or the reason why ex partes are not encouraged is because you don't want to taint the judge with information that doesn't come through the trial. Ashleigh Merchant's letter is another form of an ex parte communication. Just because she puts 50 people on there and alerts both sides, it doesn't mean that it's not a form of ex parte. She's trying to convey to the court a message and get the court to do something in her favor that she can file a motion for. I did not hear the end, and I'm going to go back and listen to it to hear what the judge told the prosecution to put together, and she would sign it. What this judge needs is to use her law clerk better and to have whatever that lady's name in the front really look through all her emails before she gets her hands on the email. I disagree with, this is what I disagree with. Ashleigh Merchant has a law firm. If her client is not called by November 15th, she's now saying that she will be unavailable to be at trial. That's your problem. That's your problem. Your client is the person that needs to be there. Period. Yes, we would like to meet the needs of the attorney, but at the end of the day, the person that is required to be there is your client. So you can either represent your client yourself, or you send somebody from your law firm in to do it. I just think that love is dirty by trying to force people to do that. And because she's done it so many times, remember the wolf that the wolf that cried, the little boy who cried wolf? That's what love did. So that's why Merchant is able to capitalize right now on you've done this. You've set a pattern of doing this to people. So I'm not gonna let you do it to me. But nevertheless, the person that is supposed to be there is her client. Period. End of story. And if Rico's only got 2 years of probation, and I think I read it's somewhere like a 5-year, it's something like 5 years. It's a 5 to something, but don't quote me on that. He only got 2 years of probation, and they're coming to the end of it. Love, just call the guy up and have him tell us what gang he belonged to, since he did claim a gang. He just didn't claim YSL. And let him tell you about the green and the signs and whatever they was doing or whatever, and get it over with. His testimony, after I done read what I read, his testimony shouldn't be more than an hour. And if it's an hour, it's pathetic, but it shouldn't be more than that. Maybe in total. Anyway, that's my views on it. I appreciate everyone that stopped by this morning, and I'll be hanging out in the chat watching the trial with the rest of you guys today. Today's production was brought to you by the M and the O. Mo, mo, mo.